Alright, want to do a quick update video here. So as far as the eviction process goes, we're pretty much going through with the eviction here. I've already hired a lawyer, put her on, got her for like, the first 5 hours. She says, hey, listen, I estimate it's probably going to be about 5 hours. We'll see about that. At the rate of probably about $285 an hour. Not probably, but at the rate of $285 an hour. So that's a total of $1,425 that I had to pay her out of pocket here. Then, that's with a little bit of a discount. I think she charges like usually $325 an hour, she was saying. She gave me a bit of a discount because of who I was referred by. So take whatever you can get, whether it's a real discount or not. So really good on that, right? What they're gonna do is we've been handed an eviction notice, or a 5-day eviction notice, where we have to answer within 5 days. I retained a lawyer the day that I got the notice, which it was out on the 25th or no, the 29th of June, and by the 3rd, right? Yeah, so the Friday. By the 3rd is when I actually got it mailed to me, or received it in the mail. And then I went ahead and called the lawyer that day, or got in touch with the lawyer that day, and get that process started. Got her paid up that night, and then later on I was able to get out of this lane. Later on I was able to get her the money, and then make sure everything was good, and she got started on the case for us. Essentially, what's going to happen is that we're going to try and delay the eviction, or not delay the eviction, but give us time to move out. I've already told her, hey, listen, we have expressed no like claim or rights to the property or anything like that. We don't want to try and fight it in any which way. We want to try and get out as best as possible, or as soon as possible. Then they can get their space back. Stops the bleeding for us. And that's kind of the most important thing, is just stopping the bleeding. After that, we'll deal with the fallout. In the lawsuit that we have, or the eviction notice, it does not talk about back rent or anything, but of course you can still be sued for that. And they can go after us for the personal guarantee of the 6 months. We may be able to fight something like that in court, where it's like, hey, listen, we're already a business that's going out. What makes you think we have any money to try and get anything else? My partner, one of my main partners that was really against selling and actually trying to get out of the place and walk away from it, whatever. Now he's changed his tune. Like, I was a pessimist and everything else like that. And now he's starting to see it my way, because of the simple fact that at the end of all of this, or we're at the point where we're just at the end, there's nothing else that can be done. He's starting to see it my way. Sadly, my way is not the way I would like it to be. I would like it to be the way that he has it, which is hopeful to, keep on, to maintain business and keep it going, but it's just not there to do so. The money's not there. The income in terms of the money's not there for us to support it, right, out of our own pockets, and the revenue is not there from tenants. We were half full before. Now we're a quarter full, and it doesn't look like anybody's really coming out. These people, our tenants don't have customers, and therefore our tenants are our customers. If they don't got it, we don't got it. So that's pretty much what we're dealing with and what we're looking at. What the next thing is to deal with the moving out and vacating the space and emptying it all out. Then the next thing to do after that is to in terms of the rent, I don't know how that's gonna all work. Actually, in terms of the vacating of the space, we got the space with nothing in it. It was cleared out, and we had to do quite a bit of work in terms of smoothing out the floors and other things like that. So I don't know if there's an like an option or for them in a sense, or a wiggle room for them to where they can say, hey, charge us deconstruction costs, like tearing down all the walls and things like that. You know, like, I don't know if that is something where that they can do or come after us for. So you never know. Something I got to keep on my radar, being the pessimist that I am. But got to deal with that. What's next? So yeah, I mean, you're gonna have to move out and deal with all that stuff. Put stuff in storage. Hopefully not. Want to sell that equipment. Get it the hell out. Liquidate it if we can. Sell it and get everybody out of there within. Give our tenants at least 2 weeks or so they can find another home or decide what they want to do. Most likely give them 2 weeks free. The only thing I'm waiting for is the actual the lawyer letting us know if we can stay a little bit longer. I do have to let my tenants know. I've already let one know. I'm gonna have to let I think there's like 3 or 4 more that are actually there. And the next thing is so the next thing is to just let them know and then deal with that fallout. I mean, it is what it is. I'm pretty much mentally prepared for it. Just gonna have to deal with, people not liking it, but hey, what can I say? There's not enough money coming in, therefore everybody's got to get out. That's just how it is. What else is next? So other than that, what I've been dealing with is, or working with, is cryptocurrencies and stocks. Cryptocurrencies aren't doing too bad. There's fluctuations here and there. Just been dollar cost averaging into that. And not even dollar cost averaging. When I have like a decent little bit of money, I'll go into that. Still buying metals as well. I was going to buy some today, but for whatever reason, it wouldn't charge my card. So I got to deal with that, or try and just wait instead of put it on like my credit card. I just wanted to take advantage of one of the deals that I saw, but it's probably a sign. I got the cash, but I want to hold on to that and pay off another debt. Recently, it just paid off one large debt, so that's really good. That was a $10,000 debt that I had. Was able to pay that, like the last $8,000 of that off. I still have one of my debts on deferment. Or extension, I should say. They gave me like a 3-month extension, or allowed me to take a 3-month extension. And so the only thing I'm looking forward to is, or looking on the other side of that, is to come out of that and then hopefully even pay them off pretty soon too. So with that $8,000, I was able to pay that off fairly easily. Probably took me about 3 weeks or so, almost 2 pay periods, to like pay it off and then still make sure I had money for other bills and such. So that's a bit of a weight off my shoulders. The Amex bill that I had, I paid that off like a couple weeks ago, so that was cool. This last one I paid off was a personal line of credit. That account has since, of course, closed. It was closed before I paid it off, but then I finally paid it off, and it totally closed and disappeared from like the view of all my accounts. So now what I'm looking to do is sorry, it's just like turning and there's somebody there and I don't want to hit them. Damn, she ain't too bad looking. Now what I'm looking to do is pretty much work on to the next thing. What I did is I actually applied for a refinance to my auto loan, just so I can cut my payments down. If it doesn't come through, doesn't too much matter, because I plan on paying it off by the end of this year. But if I can cut down my payments, that would be good. Then I can take that money, then I can make a little bit more in terms of payments to some of my other debts and clear those off. And then, of course, make myself look a little bit better in terms of like monthly cash flow. The bad side about that is once you refinance, you could refinance that amount for an extended period of time. So that's going to extend your auto loan, which means, of course, they can get more interest off of it, hopefully at a lower rate. So it would have been a little bit better if I did this sooner than later, later being now. They're talking about like extended for 5 years and stuff like that, and I'm not really trying to do that. Like, screw all that. I'm not really trying to have that damn this car note for another 5 years. It just sounds dumb to me. But it is what it is. Situation I'm in. If I can increase my cash flow on a monthly basis, then that means I could do more in terms of not just making investments, putting a little bit more here and there, but I can actually do a little bit more in terms of paying off the other debts I have and rock with a lower payment for my auto loan. Good and bad to that. Yeah, you could say, hey, listen, just pay it off and get it over with. Very true. But when you have all those other debts out there, those look really bad. So I'm trying to work on that and trying to clean that up as soon as possible. The sooner I clean that up, the longer it's off my credit. And by the time I go for getting a house, having an auto loan that's current and paid isn't as bad as having debt that's been out there for a long period of time. And most of this debt's not really accruing any interest. Actually, no. Yeah, the one thing is not really accruing. There's only one debt that's not accruing interest, because they're pretty much at this point it's a charge-off, and they want me to settle it. So I'll probably go through with that and settle it for less than the amount that they're offering. There's good and bad to that, of course. I can take that and take the hit at the end of the year, or I can just say, hey, listen, screw it, pay the whole thing. But it looks like it's already in charge-off status from what I was told when I applied for this loan the other day, or this auto refinance. I've also applied for another loan for a personal line of credit, just to have it available. That last personal line of credit was good for me in terms of like having money like that available so that I can make any moves if I needed to, which actually worked out well for me, and I was able to do some things with it. That was like the whole salon thing. In the long term, if I can use it when I need it, or have it available when I need it, then great. And yes, it is something that it's available to put out there, or it's available to put me right back in the same situation. So that's just something I'm like cognizant of. But at the same time, why did I get in the situation that I'm in now? That's because I made an investment. The investment turned out to be bad. Coronavirus hit, once in a lifetime thing. We'll see how it all works next, Maybe I can take that money and do some other stuff with it that'll actually be beneficial and make me some money this time around or next time around, to where I can actually pay back the loan off of the investment itself. We'll see. What else? Stocks have been doing pretty well. I've been doing really well on my stocks. For instance, Tesla, I'm up 200%. I'm not the type, after dealing with cryptocurrencies, I'm pretty much looking to take profit on that, on my Tesla stock. So with that being said, yeah, I'm going to take some money off the top of that. I might take all profit off the top, put it to the side. Also, I need to consolidate my trading accounts. So I had a trading account. I have like different portfolios in my entire trading account, if you will. I use M1 Finance, and you can have up to like 5 different sub accounts within there. And I didn't totally understand how all that stuff worked. By me separating and having different accounts, and those are different sub accounts, and those sub accounts having, in a sense, they're their own portfolios. So if, for instance, I make $1,000+ in Tesla in one portfolio, I can't sell a piece of that and then take the money and then just buy something else in another portfolio. It has to be within the same portfolio. That sucks. I'm sure there's a reason for it, but it is what it is. I think it's the shitty way I have to deal with it or get around, selling in one portfolio and then buying within another, or in another sub account or portfolio, is that I have to sell out of the shares, then I have to transfer that money to my bank account, which takes 2 to 5 days, and then I have to go back and then buy that share or transfer it back into another portfolio and then buy the shares that I want. That could take a whole week, and I could lose the opportunity. So that means I either have to have cash available, which would be nice if I had the personal line of credit. I could pay that back, especially at a lower interest rate, or at a decent little interest rate. M1 Finance also has a little they have a plan where you can like M1 borrow or something like that, where you can borrow at, I think, at 3.5%. So that's good if you're a long-term investor like myself and you want to buy something that's like a value stock, and then you can go ahead and pay it back. But then again, if you want to take the Dave Ramsey approach, which I don't wholly agree with, I like it, but I don't wholly agree with that. I'm sorry, I'm just a little, I just rather not. Not how I like to operate, and I like to take the risk, and then I also deal with the risk on the other side of that, whether it's negative credit because of, or whether it's paying off the entire debt, or getting the negative credit hit on the other side because I don't pay it off, all of it, and I settle out of it or something like that, and I reach a mutual agreement with the creditor. But the debt does get paid off nonetheless. I've never filed bankruptcy, thankfully. Who knows what's going to happen after this with this whole salon thing, because that's going to be about $30,000-$40,000 worth of debt. That's if I'm lucky, you know, if you want to call it that. So I'd rather see what I can do with all of this, but I'd rather consolidate all these sub-accounts into two main portfolios. One, my Roth IRA, and then the second one is just value stocks and dividend stocks and stuff like that. Then I can reinvest a lot of the earnings a lot faster, and then allow for a better compounding over time, because what I have now is where I have probably about $1,300 in profit on Tesla alone, because I bought it when I bought it when it was pretty low, when it was like 600 or so. I wanted it to come back down to like 450 or so. Didn't totally happen. I got a piece of it, so I have like 1.2 shares now. But if I can take that if I could have taken that 1,300 and rolled it into, say, a Lyft or a Uber or what have you, that would have been great. I kind of could have done that and put it in the same portfolio, but it's just like, what's the point of having all these different portfolios? And some portfolios, I have, you know, a larger amount of dividends coming in, and that's another thing. When you're doing a dividend investment style style, and you're taking that approach, if I have two different portfolios and I have $5 here, $5 here, M1 Finance, for them to auto reinvest is a minimum of $10. So I'd have to make up that $5 to reinvest a lot faster. That's a bit annoying, and it's a bit of it's really I think a bit counterintuitive for me, or counterproductive, sorry, for me, and goes against, you know, getting these things done a little bit faster and taking advantage of compound interest, or compound the compound increase in valuation, or the compounding of the stock, and you know, all the value that's derived from it. So for instance, if AT&T is taking a little bit of a markup, take profit from that, invest it in a lower stock, maybe even start, you know, buying more Shopify. I'm staying away from. I do not like the way that chart looks. It's going straight up. That's just kind of disgusting. The same thing with Tesla. Maybe I should have got out last week. We'll see what happens tomorrow, but I'm looking to take at least not 100%, or yeah, 100% of my profits, and leave a little bit in there. And then once everything transfers over, then do a final consolidation, so I can actually get in with Tesla, or get back in with Tesla in the one portfolio. That way I don't, in a sense, lose out on all the profits, if you will, or the gains, but I hedge myself just in case that stock goes down in between all these transfers. So it sounds a little bit confusing. If I was to explain a little bit better, it would be, I have a portfolio with Tesla, or a sub-account with Tesla. I want to move that whole share, or that whole position of Tesla that I have, the 1.2 plus shares, I want to move all of that to another sub-account. For me to do that, I have to liquidate the entire position and then move it over. I don't want to lose out during the time that it takes to transfer that money to my account. I don't want to lose out on that cash. Or, sorry, I don't want to lose out on that roller coaster as it's going up. But by me taking profits, meaning taking that money off the table, doing the ACH transfer from N1 Finance to my actual bank account, that's going to take, quote unquote, 2 to 5 days based on their estimations and what they do. I've never done anything like this. Again, also there's, I think, tax implications to this as well, since I'm taking these profits. Of course, their paperwork will show that. So there's that I have to deal with. I'd rather hold on to it. Once I do this, I don't plan on moving too much in and out of these stocks like that, or this portfolio like that. I'll move out of stocks as necessary. But I would have to liquidate that position to move from one sub account to the next. So I'll move first only my profits, then that secures those profits and locks in those gains. Whereas if I was to, sell at a loss, I would lock in those losses. So I'm locking in the gains here, waiting for those 2 to 5 days. After those 2 to 5 days have passed and I get that money in the account, I'm going to buy back into Tesla wherever the position is, whether it's higher than what I sold it at or lower. But I still have that original amount that I invested in it, which is probably about $670, I believe, or so. So I'll still have whatever shares or that valuation of $670 in the current portfolio that Tesla's in. So then when I make the next transfer to fully liquidate that position and get totally out of Tesla in that portfolio, then I can close that portfolio. But liquidate all that in that portfolio, now I can say, okay, hey, listen, I'll probably have enough cash to buy back into Tesla before then with that same 670, and then I'll just, like, in a sense, replace that money, if you will. We'll see. But with the 670, I'll add that to the previous amount that was transferred over. So I'll move, like, at the end of it, the result will be I'll move from one account to the next, but I'm hedging whether I lose money or not, because Tesla can go down tomorrow, especially with the uptrend that it has. It's going straight up, and I should take some profits off of that. Probably should have taken some profits last week or on Friday, but I didn't, so I'm going to put in the sell order to take profits on it and go from there. I'll leave it at that because I want to get in the house here. Sorry, my actual car mount, it like melted. Like all the things melted off of it. It's like the Florida sun there for you. But it melted. So I gotta get a new mount. And that's why you guys couldn't see the usual view of, me driving. Alright, as always, thanks for listening, and I wish you guys all the best, man, during all of this. It's really been eye-opening in so many ways. A lot of things have been revealed in the way our economy and our system works. The fact that our system is very fragile. I'll leave you with this last thing, actually. I was out at Sawgrass Mills Mall, which is a Simon Property Group property. And SPG is the REIT for Simon Properties. But I was out at Sawgrass Mills Mall, 8 o'clock on a Friday. I could count the amount of rows of cars that there were. And if I even consolidated some of the cars that were just kind of scattered around the parking lot at 8 o'clock on a Friday night at Sawgrass Mills Mall. If you're in Florida, South Florida especially, and you've gone to Sawgrass Mills Mall, it is a happening spot, if you will. It's still kind of like, bumping a little bit around even 12 o'clock. Some of the restaurants and stuff on the periphery of Sawgrass Mills Mall is open, and like the Bahama Breezes and Steak and Shake and stuff like that. This mall, you can't find parking in the front, like in the first row, like ever, if ever. You just can't. You just don't. like the row closest to the actual mall, the space itself. They have a space out there called Oasis. It's their outdoor section of the mall, but it pretty much like a little bit of like a plaza, if you will. Not a plaza, but like a little walk, and then it has all the stores around it. Little boardwalk type deal. That's what it is. So they call it the Oasis. The Oasis is usually packed. That's the happening spot. The main portion of the mall will close, but the Oasis and its stores and restaurants will remain open. Let me just say, there was about 5 rows of cars, meaning the only people that were there were most likely the people that were working. If you looked in the rest of the parking lot, it looked like a barren field. This shit and what's going on is pretty much stopped everything. And Florida is a state that is currently, quote unquote, open. But what we're also seeing, of course, is that we have a resurgence of cases. And with that resurgence of cases, more and more people are still staying home. They're not coming out. They're not buying the food. They're not at the restaurants like they were before. 1 or 2 people are coming out, but that shit's fucking stopped. You have people where their families and things like that, they're staying around one another. So even though it sucks me going through what I'm going through, when I see that Sawgrass Mills Mall, one of the biggest malls, one of the bigger malls in South Florida, is freaking empty, everything is understood at that point to me. I totally get it. This is a once-in-a-lifetime event. Yes, I could have prepared my business and prepared myself in a lot better fashion, but Jesus H. Christ, I have never seen shit like this. Talking to my friend and his wife, and, you know, they run a liquor store, so they're kind of doing okay. But besides that, they're like, I don't even know what the fuck this is. This shit is crazy, and what it's doing to the economy, it sucks. And, you know, they're ones of not anti-maskers per se, but they're ones like, hey, listen, this shouldn't really be that serious. We should open up the economy. You know, whoever can get out, let them get out. If you're old, you should stay home. But, you know, I think there's somewhat flaws in all of that. Everybody's trying to find their little, I listened out to them, and I understand their position as a business owner, because I'm on the other side of this, losing my business. And we're seeing increased light bills. Like, my light bill increased. My insurance went from $370 to $425. And that's for my vehicle and my mother's vehicle, who I pay her insurance for, or pay insurance for. So it's like having 2 vehicles, you're at $400-something. You know, it's, or like you're at $400-something. Our deductible is probably about $500. So I'm looking at, I'm going to have to raise my deductible just so I can lower my monthly payments, because it's just way too freaking much. Then that means I'm going to have to keep a little bit of money on reserve at any and all times, just in case anything actually happens. So a lot of things are happening. Got to be dynamic. I mean, you're hearing even reports of utility bills, like water. Water has gone up in some places. I can't wait to see my water bill, which is usually about $70 to $80 on a regular basis. Used to be $60, $65 or so when it was just my mother and I living in the home. Now my aunt's there, and she freaking, that lady's, I don't know, takes the longest showers. And, you know, she's a lot older lady. Oh, no, she's not that much older. She's not all there either. So a lot of things are happening, and I hope you guys are washing your hands, keeping clean, and staying safe. But as always, thank you very much for listening.